Alright, hello! Welcome to this week's episode of The Moon and the Mirage. It's December now! Yippee! It's me, Ren, and I'm here with...
Hey yo, it's your boy Dev. It's been a minute. Been at
It
college,
has.
dying.
Yeah. So, our topic this week is, in general, RPGs. Specifically, the ones we've played, or at least had a good amount of experience with, and what we like or dislike about them. Mostly like. Yeah. So, I'm gonna start us off with a little game here. One of my personal favorites, Lisa the RPG. Or just known as Lisa the Painful in general. At least that's the biggest game in the series. It's a lovely indie game by Dingling Productions. That's the actual name of the productions. It's a great name. And it's about this father who's trying to save his kidnapped daughter in a wasteland where only men survived and no woman, except his daughter. Quite interesting. What have you heard about this game, DJ? What do you know about it?
I know that it's extremely punishing, and like with its mechanics, like you can just lose limbs, and that's about it. And you could just die really easily.
Oh,
and
yes.
It's really cryptic with certain stuff, but it also tells a great story that's really deep. And I've seen 1,000 video essays on YouTube that all talk about the game. Seem like people really like it.
It is a really good game. I'm one of those people that really like it. I haven't watched that many video essays of it though. I think only 2 come to mind for me. A lot of it, like the way it's charming is definitely because of the story. Just kind of how it balances kind of the gritty style of it with dark humor and overall very touching story about family and forgiveness, as well as how much your actions mean to the people you love. It's good. It's really good.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. Also, the art style itself. The way it looks in game is so simple, but I think that comes with the charm of it. It's simple, and the style of it itself uses a lot of focus on very unappealing characters. But they're unappealing in a good way. It's kind of like a gross out way. I like to compare it to a lot of, like... there's this one artist I used to see back in my little kid days. They made a bunch of books where they exaggerated a lot of the human features. Like they had a really big nose on a person, or this person's skin was really yellow and blotchy. It always grossed me out. But in this case, in this game, I think it goes well with how it goes really well with the dark humor. Especially with all the very morbid creatures in it, such as the joy mutants, which are basically like people, but if their limbs were all twisted and they were zombies. That's also, just speaking about Lisa the Painful, but there's also the other 2 games. Lisa the Joyful, which I have played through in its entirety. And also Lisa the First, which I started, but I have yet to complete. It's less of an RPG and more so of a exploration game, more so like Yume Nikki. Very much like Yume Nikki, actually. So I won't talk about it that much.
Alright.
Yeah. So that is Lisa the RPG. What are your... What's your game that you would like to share?
Okay, the game I would like to share is RPG. It's not a turn-based RPG, sadly, but it's God of War and God of War Ragnarok. I played and beat both of the games. Actually, 100% God of War Ragnarok. It was lit.
Yo.
And what I say about the games is, if you played the previous God of Wars, you know how there's Kratos and he's just yelling and he's just on crack 24/7 the entire time. I like how the new games kind of mellow him out and actually give him a story arc and a character arc that isn't just him screaming, killing gods, and then snorting crack at the end and like ripping people apart. I like how like they give him a son, and the son is just, in the first game he was just a wimp. Not him, bro. He wasn't. Oh my god, I hated him so much. But in the second game, in Ragnarok, he actually became more of a character and like just low-key kind of better, and I kind of liked him more. When it goes off gameplay, it's just your standard, you know, third-person action gameplay with some RPG features like light in there, like just some settings, you know, some, you know, level ups, all that, you know, good stuff. I really like the skills. They have really just good art and animation overall when it comes to the skills you can use. Like the runic skills, like the light and heavy skills are just, it's great. The weapon variety is great. Got good callbacks to the previous games. There's a lot of good new stuff. And I gotta say, what really anchors the game, for me at least, is the story itself. I don't want to spoil it, but like the story is just a really good experience all throughout, and including the new DLC. Well, not new, but it was new-ish when it came out, when I played it. So, all around, just a really good game with a bald man killing gods. That's all I gotta say.
Hell yeah. I don't know much about the God of War series, although I have seen my siblings play a lot of it. It's just something I haven't really gotten into. But from the very little I have seen God of War Ragnarok, it definitely looks fun. The story itself and some of the characters, I remember seeing this, I'm not sure if she was a witch, but there's this one treehouse that I remember seeing. And that intrigued me, just from that little snippet that I saw.
Right.
You know what that treehouse was, by the way? I don't remember. Or no, was it?
Treehouse. It was like...
It was like under a tree.
Was it like a turtle under a tree?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looked cool.
It's a really cool part of the game.
Oh man.
But on to the next game.
On to the next game. Here's another one that I played this year actually. It was a really, really cheap. I got it on Steam sale, and it's a very quick 5 hours of gameplay. It is called Hylics by Mason Lindroth. It is a very experimental looking game. The art of it is similar to clay figures, I believe, as well as like taking those little clay figures and just beat crusting the hell out of it. I can't say the S word. I can, but I'm gonna refuse to. And it's just the style of it. It's so damn cool. The soundtrack as well is another thing I think of a lot when it comes to this game. Very... what's the word for it? It's kind of got a shoegazy sound to it, if you know that genre. A lot of effects on the guitar, very dreamlike sound, very fitting to the kind of aesthetic it already has. It's really a piece of art. I know that's kind of, you know, what you call every game a piece of art, but it is. But this one more so, with how weird and wacky it looks.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about Hylics?
I heard people talk about it, but I don't know really much of anything about it.
Okay. Yeah, you follow this guy named Wayne, and he's like... The thing about the characters, you don't really know much about them. At least in this game. There is a sequel, which I've yet to play. I want to get on that someday. Especially since I enjoyed the first one so much. And you record these party members throughout the game through different ways, either by solving a puzzle and beating them, or just kind of saying hi when they join your party. It's very surreal, just with the areas you go to when recruiting these party members. Because at some points, it's you meet this guy in the junkyard with just a whole bunch of weird clay figures. I mean, they're all made of clay, but it's like weird shapes. It's all weird shapes. They're fun shapes though. Helix. It's a damn good game.
Definitely sounds interesting.
It is. Oh, another thing about it. The text, a lot of the text is completely randomized from a pool of words. And I didn't know that going in. So I was really confused why a lot of the things that people say didn't make sense. But it was also very interesting to see sentences that did kind of make sense if you jumped through a couple mental gymnastics. I tried actually understanding some of the text, and that itself was incredibly fun. And now knowing that was all uniquely generated adds to the special experience it has. Oh, and the combat's fun, I guess. Yeah, that too. That's also fun to say in RPG.
The combat's fun, I guess.
I feel like the combat in this one is more kind of like a means to an end. It's not the focal point, but it does work, and there is strategy to it. It's really easy to game the system, though, in my experience, but that's all right.
You know, it gets
you're more, yeah, you're more so playing for the whole wacky experience for all, rather than really tough battles. Although there is this one battle that was extremely tough at first. Actually, there were multiple. Yeah, Helix by Mason Lindroth. Very great, very great.
Good, that seems interesting. Next, let's get a heavy hitter out the way on my end. I'm gonna be talking about Shin Megami Tensei 5, Shin Megami Tensei 3, and Shin Megami Tensei 4. As I group them all together, because if I talked about all of them kind of individually, I'd be here forever, and then this video would never come out, and then I'd hate myself. So, where do I even begin? Shin Megami Tensei 3, that's where I'll start, right?
Alright.
That game was known for being extremely difficult, and that's why I like playing it. Because, you know, a lot of parts about an RPG is a lot, you know, building your character, you know, and playing the game. Some stuff, like, kind of goes a little underdeveloped when it comes to combat, and some stuff comes a little underdeveloped when it comes to story, but I feel like Shin Megami Tensei lies more on the combat side over the story. The story's not horrible when it comes to all three games, but it's definitely like a little bit a means to an end. Not like fully. It's not like, you know, some just skeleton of a story, just set piece after set piece after set piece. But it's a little bit means to end. What really makes the game is the brutal combat and the strategies you had to make to see if you can even win when it comes to all three games. God, I had something in my throat. And the RPG aspect of creating your character to face the enemies is definitely the core thing around S&T. And I know that sounds like a real cop-out. All RPGs, you're creating your character, but specifically for S&T, you're building your scenarios around the enemies you face so you can beat them. Sometimes you need to go back to your previous area, level up. Sometimes you need to go grab this for this. Very specific instances, not just general getting your character up. And I feel like that S&T does it the best when it comes to that. I say the most recent one, S&T 5, the story was a little eh. I know story isn't the focus, but the story was really stringed together. But they fixed that with the re-release Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. which fixed the story, and that was the biggest problem, was the story. Besides that, of course, like, great soundtrack.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, soundtrack. Okay. A little personal anecdote here. I love the Shin Megami Tensei 5 soundtrack so much. It's my go-to study music, or just general focus music. So damn good. Oh my god, I love how ethereal everything sounds. And well, this kind of goes for any SMT game, but man, the battle music.
Oh man, yeah. The battle music just makes the cake, bro. All of them are so good.
I could not stop looping the Shiba theme for SMT5 for weeks. Fucking insane track. I just swore. Whatever, it was worth it. Yeah. So I definitely agree with you. I'm gonna be mostly talking about SMT5 because that is unfortunately the only one I've played. I do want to get
Tragic.
to Nocturne and both SMT4 games. Fortunately, I just haven't due to all the other games I like to play. But SMT5,
It'd be like that.
the combat is definitely the meat of the game, especially with all the different strategies and demons that you're able to build up. I remember looking up a couple fusion guides to getting pretty good builds for late game. But one thing I really like is, honestly, you don't really need guides to play the game. It tells you just enough to be able to manage on your own and to experiment yourself. And there's enough fallbacks in the game to help you out if you do kind of make your party shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the
Guys, they're
story.
definitely helpful.
Yeah, the story. I know it was definitely stringed together for that one. At least from what I know from Nocturne, it doesn't compare to that. I feel like Nocturne's story was a bit better compared to Five's. But even so, I did like the themes in Shin Megami Tensei 5, as well as like certain story moments. And the relationships characters had, even if they were like for 2 sentences or something, it was still a little entertaining to see. So that's
Yeah, that's
something
understandable.
that's something I'm looking forward to whenever I get to buying Vengeance for myself. To see more of that. Yeah.
Onto your game of choice.
Yes, I had to drink some water. Another one. This one's kind of like a random one that I picked because it is an RPG and it's a very, I don't want to say bare bones because it isn't, but it's more so an RPG at its core because of the gameplay. This one is Half Minute Hero. Specifically, the version on Steam, because there are multiple releases of it. I've played both the PSP version and the Steam version. This one is, as what the title says, you play each level in half a minute. So 30 seconds you're given to go through a scenario where you have to build up your character really fast. You have to go over to where the boss is and beat them all in 30 seconds. Which sounds insane, but honestly, once you get to the gameplay where all the towns are basically where time pauses and, you know, you can buy stuff there, you can heal there, it's not that bad. It's actually more so a puzzler than a challenge, because you have to figure out how to navigate different areas within 30 seconds. And technically it doesn't have to be 30 seconds, but every level is beatable in 30 seconds, because you can always buy time for yourself. But it is an RPG, because it does satisfy those very vague RPG qualifications. And you play as a hero in it.
Interesting. 30 seconds? Jeez, that just sounds like just anxiety attack the game.
It can be. Yeah, I've had moments where I was really close to beating the game, but I was just like a sliver of health too short. Or not the game, but certain levels.
Dang.
A lot of levels. It does get hard. But that's the fun of it. It's right. One big challenge. And also the art style is pretty cute. The re-release of it has it so that you can choose between a pixel art style that the original releases had, or this really cute simplified art style that kind of reminds me of this one mobile game that Kingdom Hearts had. Kind of like that style, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a very small RPG experience, and damn good one for what it is.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say about Half Minute Hero. What are your thoughts?
Half a minute. I gotta definitely play it. That's what I think. Just does it have any difficulty like modifiers? Any kind?
Yeah, actually. So in each level, you can get little medals for how well you did at it. And also depending on how long you took. And the gold medal, which is the best medal that you can get, you obtain by beating the entire level in 30 seconds. Like, without buying more time. There's also little secrets that you can get, and also special challenge levels that you can go through. So yeah, there is more challenge if you really want to do that.
Yeah. This next game... It's like one of my favorite games. It's called Depersonalization. It's a indie roguelike role-playing game, and it's just so interesting. It combines tabletop like D&D style aspects to it, mixing with like Lovecraftian themes that all just kind of comes together in a really interesting way. I feel just makes it extremely unique among like its competitors. Like
that does sound really good.
Like how it does content, for instance, it goes to story modules, like individual story modules, where you play as one guy doing one thing in its story, and then you beat that story. You get gear and your currency to go to the next story to level up your character between stories, and I feel like that's really interesting. You don't stick with the same story. You stick with the same like character, of course, but you could modify that character for whatever you want. Level it up with any type of skills or any type of abilities that you get during the story. There's voice checks, and then there's branching paths within the story. So it gives a lot of replay value between each story. As I didn't get that legendary piece of gear in that story. Let me go back, go beat the story, do a different path. Multiple endings get you different rewards, and I feel like it's just really steady. Like it's just really steady and really stable, and its atmosphere is just great too. Like it's pixel art, of course, but like Lovecraftian horror aspects too. So it can get kind of creepy, kind of scary, but it kind of gets kind of warm too. Something that you've seen before, just with an interesting twist. And yeah, that's all I really gotta say about it.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Steam page for it. Really loving the character designs, especially from what it looks like. The enemy designs as well. Ooh, that's really nice looking. And yeah, even though it does have pixel graphics, I think that is a benefit to it. I feel like it can get away with a lot more complex designs with pixel graphics more. Just because it kind of lets the viewer assume more about how scary this creature could be in a realistic scenario rather than just a game one.
Yeah, that's very understandable.
Honestly, you had me at Lovecraftian. I love those types of topics and just overall themes in games.
It's such a weird game. Like, if I try to tell people that, a roguelike RPG that mixes D&D and Lovecraft's stuff in it, you'll be like, man, that sounds like that doesn't work. But it does.
Looks like it does. Yeah, it looks like it can sink a a good amount of time in this and just have a lot of fun.
And you can always come back because they introduce new story modules, new characters every so and so. So it's not just a one and done deal. I wouldn't say
even more
on the level of like live service, but it's definitely keep it interesting.
Yeah. Oh wow. That definitely adds more into it. That is. You know what? I gotta play this game too. Thank you for that bit of recommendation. Goddamn.
Well, I've seen it doesn't cost that much, so I would definitely recommend it.
Oh yeah. Wow. Depersonalization by Meow Nature. Great dev name.
Actually, might even see me stream it later when I get back to streaming.
Yeah.
Because apparently they added some new content, so I gotta jump in.
Looking forward to that. As to my final game shoutouts, I'm going to talk about Yik, or what it should be called, Y2K, a postmodern RPG. One of the RPGs ever. So this one had a very, very messy release date, or release in general. It was put on hold, and then when it did release, it had a lot of bugs. The story was very everywhere. The character, a lot of people had issues about the characters, whether they were like not that charming or they were just really weird. Excuse me, really weird. Like the main character, Alex Eggleton, I believe that's his name. It's Egg something, who would not stop talking throughout the entire story. You're kind of forced to hear his monologues, and they were really boring monologues as well. And then the gameplay itself was tedious and required a good number of grinding that didn't feel like it meant anything. As comparison, you do some grinding in Shin Megami Tensei, but at least it kind of felt fun. There's a lot of strategies and battles that you can do. In this one, there is not a lot of strat in it. So it all around was kind of a big mess. However, recently it's gotten a pretty big update called IV Drip, aka 1.5, and from what I've heard and from what I've played of the demo that was released before it, they have improved a lot. They've redone the entire battle system, which introduces this thing called Karta. It's basically like cards that you summon out in battles. They redid how health works as well. They added new characters that further expanded on the plot that was supposed to be done in the game before that. They redid a lot of cutscenes, redid dialogue. Although they didn't take out a lot of the dialogue that a lot of players had problems with, they did make it better and more properly integrated within the game. So it feels like it has purpose. And most importantly, it feels fun now.
And yeah,
so
that's all that games are. It's supposed to be entertaining. So if it could even pass that, I'm glad they worked on it a little bit.
Have you ever heard of Y2K, a postmodern RPG?
I have not, so I had to look into that.
Yeah. It was kind of going around as a meme, specifically of this one sprite of the main character, kind of known as the Yik pose, where he's like surprised and looking to the side of the screen with his hands placed at his head. Might have seen that around. I know a couple of my friends that have never heard of this game otherwise. But I'm, as a fan for about a few years now, I'm just glad that this update is finally out after hearing quite a bit of it and seeing the in-between update they had for it, 1.25, that changed some of the cutscenes and removed a number of glitches. There still were a couple though. I'm so glad that Axe Studios has been doing this game justice. Because when I first went through this game with a friend, it was so fun in a weird way. It was aggravating at a lot of points, but there were also such special cutscenes and moments in the story that where I thought, wow, I wish this was in a better game. And now it is! Now it is. At least I think it is. I've yet to play the IV drip update. I just got it today. But from what I know, it's gonna be really fun. And it's definitely in something better than it was before. So, yay! Yippee yick. I will never call it the proper name Y2K. I will always call it yick.
How a game goes from, underbaked, half-developed, to them actually working on stuff and trying to fix it to make it, enjoyable for the crowd.
Oh, another thing. There's also a track in the game made by Toby Fox. Just a little bit of trivia there.
But, I would say that's a good amount of RPGs.
Indeed it was.
Could go on and on and on, but, I don't have the time like that for real. So
I think we both can. I've tried really hard to not spoil anything in the past couple of minutes.
Yeah, I tried to keep it down to RPGs that I like, but not like ultra super like, because that would just keep me here forever. And I gotta get this video out, like I said before, so.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, that is the end of this episode. Very glad to have all of you here. All you viewers that tune in at whatever times.
As always, if you get this far, thanks for watching. Like, sub, share, please. Get her name out.
Hell yeah. And goodbye! And good night.
See ya.